Got the yes. We have excellent connection, apparently. That's good. Looks like we're loading. Good morning. This is VirtualPBX-admin training. This week we're doing streams today, Tuesday, as well as again on Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Just making sure everything is going appropriately here before we really dive into things. And to give people a minute or two to hop in if they are so inclined. Alrighty. If for some reason you're not able to watch the entire stream, again, we DVR these on YouTube, so you can always come back later and watch the whole stream, or you can always just go to one of the previous streams and bookmark it and come back later as your schedule permits. We've been running about an hour and 15 to about an hour and a half, give or take. If you have any questions, feel free to make use of the chat window, and I will try to address them as I see them come through, which sometimes can be problematic. And if you want guides with screenshots, you can go to our support page, right? So virtualpbx.com, mouse over support, and there'll be a link there for Dash support. As you scroll down, you'll see also some shorter videos on specific features and how to set them up. And then further down, like starting about, say, a third to a halfway down, you'll see the various guides for various features, as well as setting up various VoIP devices. All right, it's 10 o'clock by my clock here, so we'll go ahead and get started. On the screen here, we've got our Dash login page, which is just dash.virtualpbx.com. You can also get there from the main website. Also, I'll be mousing over support. There's a Dash login link. It'll take you to this page. I recommend, typically speaking, to go ahead and bookmark this page so you don't have to keep looking for it going forward. And then you've got your the fields to enter in for your login credentials. So the first one is your username or email address. Actually, your username is your email address. For our migrated customers, this email address would have been the email on your extension that was used for the system recovery, right? So whenever you needed to recover your password, that's the email address we used. Another thing to keep in mind for our migrated customers is on Dash, every user or extension owner back on vConsole has to have a unique email address to log in with. So it's possible if our migration team wasn't able to find valid email addresses for some of your extension owners, that they had to put in a placeholder email address. So as an admin, you may need to go in and double check your staff members' usernames to make sure it's a valid email address. All right, next field is the password, which should have been emailed to you. And then lastly, we have the account name, typically your company name. Now, if for some reason you don't remember your password or you didn't get the email, click on the Forgot Your Info link. System's going to again ask you for your email address, and then it needs either your company name or one of your account phone numbers, right? So for our VirtualPBX customers, they actually might remember their phone numbers more than whatever name the company was going by at the time they signed up with us, right? Because sometimes company names change. But on vConsole, you use your phone number to log in with, so that might be easier for you to remember. But then you click on Reset Password, and the system will send you an email. It'll let you log in to change your password. Once you've changed your password, the system logs you back out to make you log in with that new password. And typically, from my own impatient perspective, like I would change my password and I try to go change something else, right? And it would load like I'm about to get to this new page, and then suddenly I'm kicked out and I have to log back in. So something to keep in mind. Now your username and your password are, and the account name are all case sensitive. And I know like the first time I logged into Dash, my browser capitalized the first letter of my email address. so didn't let me in right away. All right, and we're waiting for it to load. There we go. Now, if it's your first time logging in, you actually get sent to a different page. So let me click on where you would end up. You would end up here on the user profile. Now, you can change your email address and your password here, as well as your time zone. As a system admin, you also have this account section here. So we'll click on that. And the main thing people change here is the time zone, right? Make sure your company's in the right time zone. Now, this is a test account that I'm using here. On a live account, as an admin, you also have another section over here to the left below where it says user. That's where your billing information is. So you could change things like your credit card, you could see your service plan, etc. That first time logging in, the Dash Wizard will pop up to give you highlights about different aspects of the page. Once you're done with that, go ahead and click on close here to the top right, and you'll be back here on our dashboard page. So anytime you need to get back to that, you just click on your name up here at the top. The D&D, this is Do Not Disturb, where you can toggle yourself to not accept calls. This may not show up for everyone on your account. There's been some issues with users who are also in queues. When they put themselves on Do Not Disturb, it can cause some problems with queue calls. So that's why some of you staff may not have that available to them. Then we've got this question mark icon. Right, so first off, you got the chat with us. This will open up a chat window so you can talk to our support team. They can walk you through specific features. So I'll give you guides to help you with it. Down below here, we got to learn more. This takes you to the support pages so you can see the guides yourself and navigate through the website as necessary. And then we got the online store link. Go to store.virtualpbx.com. This is where you can buy the desktop VirtualPBX softphone app or other VoIP phones. Some headsets and routers are also available. And then we got the web phone link. This only shows up once you have a web phone on your user, and be that next time you log in. It goes to webphone.virtualpbx.net. It just allows you to use Chrome or Firefox from a computer to make and receive calls. So it's another kind of soft phone. This is the hamburger or menu icon. This takes you to several different portions of Dash, which is mostly for admins, right? We're on the dashboard here. Some of your staff will be able to get the queues if you've assigned them the queues, and then everyone also has their own user portal. But beyond that, everything else would only show up for admins. And then the little logout icon here. We're on the left going down. These are the core features of Dash. So we'll be going over all of those. And then in here, we've got your total users. So these are all the people on your account who make and receive calls. Depending on your plan, adding users can increase your bill. So that's something you might need to check with account services if you're not sure if that applies to you or not. Down below here, we've got our total devices. Right, so I have 49 total devices for my 27 users. And a breakdown of the devices, right? So cell phone, right? Self-explanatory. Most of us have a cell phone of one type or another. The web phone, which we were just talking about, again, uses Chrome or Firefox on a computer to make and receive calls. The soft phone, right? Software application. Uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. So this could be like the VirtualPBX soft phone app, either on a mobile phone or on the desktop version, or another kind of soft phone application from another company. SIP phone. This is a physical VoIP phone that sits on your desk or in your house or in your office somewhere. It has a handset, typically speaking, that you pick up and you can dial from to make calls. And then landline, the relic of an older age, where the only, but pretty self-explanatory for, I hope, most people still. But basically, analog phone plugs into a wall jack, typically speaking, and you go from there. Now down below here, we've got in this red 14 here, we got the unregistered devices. So Dash can tell when a VoIP phone is connected to it or not, and thus if it can send calls to or from that device. So this is telling me that I have 14 devices that the Dash system cannot send calls to. Now that could be simply because something's off, right, or not plugged in yet. It could be something more significant, like someone's lost their internet connection, or someone has bad router settings and they need to adjust to get the phone out, or it could be the phone's just not programmed properly yet, right? Any number of things. Total numbers, these are phone numbers or customer-facing phone numbers on the account, right? So any number that a customer can dial and get to a staff member or a voicemail box on your system. And then we got a breakdown here, assigned numbers and spare numbers. That's not these first two ones here. So an assigned number means it's in use, right? It's going to a staff member, goes to a ring group. It's one of your main numbers. It's your conference number, right? In some fashion, someone can dial it and they're going to get a hold of someone or get to a voicemail box. Spare number, the number on your account, not going anywhere. You're not currently using it. So basically, someone dials it, they're not getting anywhere. Now, depending on your plan, you have anywhere from 1 to 15 phone numbers included in your plan price. If you go over that allotment, then you'll be charged, I think it's $199, anywhere between $199 and $499 per month per phone number. And that includes the spare numbers. So even if you're not using it and you're over your allotment, then you would still be charged for that number. All right, then we got the breakdown between USDID and US toll-free. All right, toll-free, 800 number, right? 888 all the way down to 833 currently. USDID, that just means US local number, right? So a number in, say, Portland, Oregon, or a number in Miami, Florida, right? And anywhere in between. You can also have a section for international numbers. If you're interested in getting an international number on your account, you're going to want to email porting, PORTING, at virtualpbx.com and indicate the city and country that you want to get a number in. And our porting team will let you know if there's additional requirements or it's not possible for whatever reasons. Some of the additional requirements for like Germany, for example, we need proof of presence within that city. Usually that's like a utility bill is plenty. Other countries don't have requirements at all, and some others have more stringent requirements. Just it'll vary from country to country. Conference bridges, I've got 6 here. Oops. There we go. That's just saying I have enabled conferencing on 6 of my users. I was able to do that after I assigned a number to my conference room, which we'll get over to over here. This over here on the right is our main phone numbers. All right, these are my general company numbers, right? So like new customers would typically call these numbers. These numbers are all going to route the same way initially. They're also going to have the same main greeting, for example, right? So something to keep in mind there. You can obviously have multiple numbers. Conference number, again, you have to assign a conference number. Of course, I clicked on it. Let's go back. But you can have multiple conference room numbers. Once you've assigned a conference number, you can then enable conferencing on your individual users. And that's a number everyone calls to get to the conference room, even including your staff members. Then we've got the fax box number here. This enables faxing on the system, first and foremost. And then this number is the number that you receive faxes on. Then we got the company directory. This is a download link. Simply download the text file, which shows your users and their extension numbers. The soft phone directory is also a download link. This is for use with our desktop soft phone application. You basically download the file, you upload it to the desktop version of the soft phone app, and it shows all the other staff members who have soft phones, right, as contacts within the soft phone app. But you can also see their status based on the soft phone. So if you have every member of your staff makes use of the soft phone, and that's it, then it's a way to show presence, right? Because then I can see, oh, my coworker Mike is on a call. I guess I can't call him right now about whatever topic we need to talk about. But then I can see when he gets off the call, then I can just click on him to call him and we can talk. Then we got the store discount code, right? So just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount in our web store, right? store.virtualpbx.com. And then we've got the account realm. This is used in a couple places. One is used as part of the information you need to program a third-party application or device. There's three pieces of information at a minimum, which is the username, the password, and the account realm. The other thing it's used for is for faxing out. So once you've enabled faxing on the system, you create an email to fax out currently on Dash. In the to field of that email, you put the plus sign, the number 1, and then the area code and phone number you're faxing to, the @ symbol, and then the account realm, and then you attach a PDF or TIFF file and send. There's no point in typing in the body of the email because the system's only going to fax out the attachment. All right, up here we've got the caller ID. So this is your default company caller ID. You select one of your main numbers. Fortunately, the streaming software is not showing all my pull downs. And then here you've got the company caller ID name, CNAME. This is 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. And this will show up as part of the caller ID when you make outbound calls from a VoIP phone. Now, a couple things to keep in mind is once you click on the Save Changes, this gets sent to the other carriers who support CNAME. That can take up to 3 business days for them to update. But not every carrier that your call can route through supports CNAME. So it's possible that even after that 3 days, you make an outbound call and the person you're calling doesn't get the CNAME information. They'll get your phone number, but that would be about it. That's not something we can control, unfortunately, since it's up to those carriers to support CNAME or not. That's typically for smaller or regional carriers that don't, right? The big boys all do. And even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's not a high priority. It's distant third at best, right? So if there's heavier than expected call volume, they're going to drop the CNAME information to make sure they can connect calls. Obviously, if they're having a maintenance issue or an outage, they're more concerned about trying to get calls connected before anything else. All right, and then down below that, we've got the company emergency or E911 information. Again, this is an address that's associated with this phone number so that if a VoIP phone user picks up their phone and calls 911, this is the address that gets sent to emergency services. And again, you can set this per number. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this number that you select here, right, this becomes your primary number. And so a lot of things will default to just this number. Any changes though, click on Save Changes, and then the system will update. All right, next up we've got hold music. Now, hold music on Dash is defined as after a call has connected to a user, and then that user presses hold on their VoIP phone. When that happens, you can have a custom file play, so you can upload your own file. Right, you would find it on your computer, and then you would click on this little up arrow icon here. Now, Dash will play back .wav, .wav, and .mp3 files. You're going to want to record in mono, not in stereo, or edit the file so that it's in mono. And then you want to keep the file under 1 megabyte in file size. And then click on Save Changes. Now, the hours is actually part of main number, so let's go over to main number and just go through the whole thing. Once it loads. All right, so main company number, click on that, or click on the box. Now, you see all your main numbers on the account. If you want to not use a number as a main number any longer, you can click on Unassign. So like I can unassign the 650 number. So now it's no longer a main number, but it's still on my account, right? I haven't deleted the number. If you want to add a number, you can either choose from your spare numbers, right? So I have that 650 number and a 702 number, or I can buy a new number. So another local number, right? So somewhere specific in the country, or I can go toll free. You can do 855, and then you can look for the number that you like. As you scroll down, you'll see that, oh, it just refreshes and adds more. And then I can add the number. It's added to my cart, gives me the number there. I can remove it, but then I click Buy Numbers. System verifies that it's still available. It's a dynamic list, so you're competing with other customers, but then it adds it to my account. Now, for any of my numbers here, got a little gear icon, so I can update the caller ID of the number, as well as accepting inbound caller ID name. Right? I can update the E91 for that specific number, and then by doing this, I make that available for all my devices to choose from. And then prepend is for your voice phone users. You can add additional text in front of the caller ID that shows up on their phone to give an idea what the call is about. Right? Just quick heads up. And so this add from spare and buy numbers options will show up anywhere you can add a number. Right? So if you want to add it directly to a user, those options will show up to a ring group, to a queue, etc. And I'll make sure to highlight those as we go through. All right, office hours strategy. If you're a new sign-up, you're going to be defaulted to 24-hour open office. If you're a migrated customer, our upgrade team would have matched your day-night mode settings to make your office hours. So if you're in custom office hours, you put a check mark in front of each day of the week that you're open, and then you indicate your open hours in these boxes to the right in military or 24-hour time. You have another option down here. The bottom says if you're closed for lunch, and then you can indicate your lunch hours. So if your whole facility is closed for lunch, you can do that. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, you put a check mark here. And then you have these options here for the right. For add holiday, you have single day, date range, and advanced. Right, so single day is like right here for President's Day. You give it a name, you choose the month and then date. For date range, like we have here for Christmas, right, starts December 23rd. I'm ending it on December 26th. The warning here for date range is you want to avoid a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day because there's no year indicator here. So you just want to do single day for New Year's Eve and then for New Year's Day. Advanced is like this retreat where I'm just saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're in holiday mode, right? Company picnic, what have you. Again, and the options here are like first, second, third, fourth, and last, and then obviously each day of the week. And then you click on Save Changes for any changes you make. Right, incoming call handling. Now, so we're under our main number still. And I have open hours tab, I have an after hours tab, and a holidays tab. If I had chosen or saved that I was closed for lunch, I'd also have a lunch hours tab. But this is how you control how these numbers behave, right? So all of my main numbers during my open hours, I'm going to say I'm going to have go to my virtual receptionist. The virtual receptionist, there's a link. So you click on that, it'll pop open a new window. On my left is my main menu. So this is what people press on their phones to navigate through the phone system, right? This is on top of extension numbers. And then on the right is the greeting, which is basically where you tell them what to press. Right? You're giving your inbound callers directions. Now, to add routes, right, or get out options, right? You click on Add Route. Now this is a pull down. You have 0 through 9 as well as the default route, and then where do you want it to go? So let's go up here, all the way to the top. So first off, you got the smart directory, right? So they can press a menu option to get to your directory so they can look for the person they're looking for. You can send callers a menu option directly to a specific person. All right. Then we've got call queues. So I can send it to a queue, which is, now queues have an additional fee associated with them. Most times we start people off on groups, and if that doesn't work for them, then they can look at adding queues. You can send calls to a specific device. You can send it to a media file. By default, when you send it to a media file, after the media file stops or ends, then the call ends as well. You can send it to a ring group, right? So a department. Then ring groups are included as part of your plan price. So that's why we tend to start people there before we send them to queues. Advanced call flows, these are actually other auto attendants. So now on Batch, you can do what's called sub-menuing, right? So I can have a menu option. I can send it to this other attendant where a new greeting will play, as well as a whole new set of menu options now exist for the customer to choose from. All right, and then I can also send it to a voicemail box. So we'll put it back to Starbucks. Over here, the greeting options, right? Text to speech, you type in a greeting, and then you would click update. And then you would click on save, and then save changes over here. Upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Right, find the file on your computer, click update, then save and save changes. Choose from an existing file or recording. So this can be text-to-speech file, any file you uploaded, or anything that you recorded over the phone is available. Speaking of recorded over the phone, so by default, here we go. The system wants you to use a VoIP phone, right? That's what it means by registered phone. So you would call your main number, you would enter in this PIN number, and then the system would guide you through a recording over the phone. Now, this PIN number is specific to this time of day, meaning it only works during my open hours, right? So if I called in during after hours, right, so after 5 p.m., this PIN number would not work. And even if I chose the after hours PIN, I wouldn't be updating my open hours greeting. I'd be updating my after hours greeting, right? So to update over the phone, you're calling in at that time that you're calling in, that's the greeting that you're updating. Now, if you already have a greeting file in place, right? So I have greeting A is my main greeting right now, that's what's playing, and I call in, I enter this PIN number, right? Walks me through recording a new greeting. I don't get to choose a new file name, right? It just simply overwrote the content of greeting A with what I just recorded with, but it keeps the same file name. So that's something to keep in mind. Oh, also for recorded over the phone, if you don't want to use a VoIP phone, let's say you've got a friend with that great radio voice, and like, oh, I can just call in from my cell phone. Well, what you would do is down here under settings is turn allow outside recording to on, click on save and save changes, and then you can record from a cell phone or a landline. We do recommend you keep that off so someone doesn't keep, randomly try to enter in PIN numbers to try to change your greeting on you. Professional recording services, when you click order, you'll get sent to a new site hosted by Snap Recordings. They have something between 80 and 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from. They have different versions of English, French, and Spanish, so you can have multilingual greetings going. They have what they call hold treatment, a mix of music and a script read. They have their own billing, right? They handle their own delivery, which is typically via email, and then you can just upload your own file. They are currently running a holiday special. I believe it's 20% off, but I'm not certain about that. But that should show up on the site when you go to it. And then let's go over these settings here. So number of retries on missed dial, right? I have that set to 2. What that means is someone calling in can mess up a total of 3 times, right? So they get the first one automatically, and then 2 more times after that they can press, say what, so option 5 is not legit. on this? Yeah. Say someone keeps pressing 5. After that third attempt, the system will either send them to my default route, or if there's no default route in place, we'll end the call. Right? So in this case, right now I have it my default route going to the smart directory. Now the next setting down below is the dialing timeout. That should be an integer, right? I think sometimes on default it shows up as 0.01. What this is, that is the number of seconds the system waits after hearing a button press before it assumes the person is done, right? So I press 5, it will wait 1 second and go, oh, you're done, and try to send me to option 5, which in this case doesn't exist. All right, so for most people, I say, set it to 2 or 3. That way people have enough time to enter an extension of like, wait, is it 8, 0, and right, so they're not automatically cut off. Now, the way this system is set up right now, right, a caller can come in, they would hear the greeting at least a few times, right, whether they hit a menu option or not, and then they get sent to my smart directory because of the default route. I haven't been recommending default route for a long time now just because of robodialers. Right? So if you get rid of the default route and a robodialer comes into your system, right, they can hear my greeting a couple times and then the call ends. Right? It'll say, we did not hear a valid menu selection, goodbye. Now, for your actual live customers, when they call in, they're probably going to hit a menu option, right? If they have fingers, they'll press a tone to try to get to someone, right, or leave a message. Robodialers can't do that, so they get, you're blocking them at the gate. But then any changes you make here, you click on Save, and then you also want to click on Save Changes here under Incoming Call Handling. All right, so still under open hours. Let's say I want to change it up. In this case, I'm offering it to my staff member, Bob, here. If Bob is not able to answer it, then it goes to the virtual receptionist. Now you click on this, it's that same virtual receptionist we were just looking at. The point here is that you're trying to offer the call to a staff member, or in the case of like groups or queues, multiple staff members, right? So I can set it to a queue, for example. But you're basically trying to give someone a chance to answer the call first. And if they're not able to take the call, then it goes to the virtual receptionist where the inbound caller can then press a menu option, right? So you can send it to queues, you can send it to staff members, you can send it to devices, you can send it to ring groups, you can send it to a media file. I don't normally recommend that just because you end up basically having 2 greetings play, right? One here and then one at the virtual receptionist, which can be confusing for your customers. Although I guess under like holiday season time, you may want to have 2 greetings, right? One for, hey, here's our specials, and then the next one you can say, okay, our hours of operation are this, or this is how you get to us, that sort of thing. Third option here, call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob, and again, you have that same options of groups, media file, queues, devices, and then if whoever is not able to answer it, I'm sending it to a voicemail box to leave a message. This is what I typically recommend for customers when on their holiday menu, basically saying, hey, we're not going to have staff members around, so just send calls to voicemail. This has an additional option all the way here at the bottom, which is to skip the voicemail. So not even offer it to anyone or any device. You're just saying, hey, send it straight to voicemail. All right. And this last option here is you can send it to one of your other auto attendants, which we'll be getting to later, actually, after we're done with this complete section here. After hours, again, you have these same options, but your virtual receptionist can be completely different. Right? Each virtual receptionist is unique for that time of day because most likely you can have different greeting for after hours or holidays, but then you can also have different menu options, and the same would apply for holidays and lunch hours. Main conference number, you can have multiple conference numbers, so I can add from spare or buy a new. You can also have a customized greeting for the conference bridge. Now, this is just a text-to-speech greeting. Even if you have this disabled, for example, when people call in, they'll say, welcome to the conference. Please enter your conference room number and then the PIN number. The main fax box number, again, this is, you add a number, you get one, that you can receive faxes on. This enables faxing on the account. Now, on your account, when you click on Edit Fax Box, you get a pop-up with two fields. Fortunately, on this account, it is broken. But the first field is for email notifications of the inbound faxes, right? So who gets that notification that a new fax has arrived? They get an email, and they get the fax as a PDF. The second field is for outbound permissions, typically used for if you own your own company domain, you could put your company domain there, and then any one of your staff members with an email address can then fax out, right? Email to fax in the to field, +1 area code and phone number, @ your account realm, attach a PDF or TIFF file. And when you use the domain for the outbound permissions, they don't have to be a user on the account to send a fax out, because you've enabled anyone with your company domain to fax out. All right, let's go up to auto attendance. All right, so auto attendance, this you would use if you've had like multiple businesses on one account, and you want each business to have, say, their own phone numbers as well as their own greetings. Right, that's their first use case. The second use case is, as I mentioned previously, submenuing, right? So you want people to have different options. Now, to add an attendant, you click Add Attendant. You give it a name and an extension number. You can literally your staff members can transfer calls to the extension of another auto attendant. So, like, someone called in and got to your dog walking business, and they actually wanted to talk to the cleaning people. Then your staff members say, oh, well, let me transfer you to that company, right? And then boom, they get there. Now, when you click on the name of an attendant, you have an option here. Actually, here, let's go to this test one here, right? So unavailable in main menu, basically saying, hey, this is a standalone attendant. People can get to you by calling the number or by my staff members transferring. Whereas on this one here, I said, hey, make this available in a main menu. When you do that, I'm saying that this particular attendant is available as a sub-menu off of any of my other attendants. Right. Now, a reason like why you would want sub-menuing. For example, when people first get to your main number, you can say, hey, for English, press 1. For Spanish, press 2. Well, now you can make sub-menus for each one of those. So therefore, make this one here English instead of its Niner Nation label. Right, I would have a greeting play in English then, and then have the menu options right off in English to go to my English-speaking staff members. Then for option 2, I create another attendant here, have the greeting in Spanish, and have the menu options go to my Spanish-speaking staff members. That's an example of submenu, and you can go further than that. Like literally, I think you can go over up to 10, maybe more. I don't know that there's a limit on the number of submenus you can have. Click here for the phone numbers so you can add or assign a main number to these auto attendants. You can click here to add or unassign extension numbers. And then you got the little wrench icon here under settings. And there we go. Now, I have open hours, I have after hours, and holidays. These all match those settings under main number, right? So these attendants will have the same open hours and after hours and holiday schedule as I already set up under the main number. You only have the option to send these callers to the auto attendant or the virtual receptionist, right? So they have a greeting play and then their own menu options. And again, they have the whole redial and allow outside recording settings. Any changes you make, you click on Save Changes. Right. Devices shows your devices on the account. So green means it's registered, right? We can send calls to it. Red means it's not registered or unregistered, so we can't send calls to it. And black means you've disabled the device. If you click on add device at the top, you've got these options here. So SIP phone, that's that physical VoIP phone. You choose from one of these manufacturers. So we'll say Cisco here. And then you click on the model of your phone. Now you give it a name, right? This Bob's phone, right? It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just something that you can identify the phone with. And then you enter in the MAC address. Now this is unique to each device. Often it's a sticker on the back or the bottom of the phone. Typically you can also click status on the menu, like hit menu status, and that's one of the options that shows up is the MAC address. So you would enter that information here, and then you click on create device, and then you would assign it to a person. Now on Dash here, you're done. On the phone, you need to get into the phone's web user interface, and then you need to enter in a URL in the auto provisioning section. If you go to the Dash support pages, on the right-hand side under VoIP phones, you're looking for the guide called Auto Provisioning Phones. It will have screenshots as well as the specific URL to enter. And basically what that does is tell the phone, hey, go to this page, right? The phone does that to say and exchanges its MAC address information. The system says, oh, I know what phone you are and I know what account you're on. Here's your config file, right? Phone gets that file. It will reboot at least a couple times. And then it should show up as a green or registered device, so then you can make and receive calls from it. Now, if your phone manufacturer is not on here, or your specific model isn't on here, and maybe you tried a close model number and it still didn't work, then you'd have to actually go down to here, use soft phone. Now you got a little warning message here saying, hey, because of wireless technology, calling 911 from a soft phone may not send emergency services to the correct address. But here, again, you give it a device name, and now you've got the SIP username, the SIP password, and the account realm that you would need to program a third-party application or device, right? So you're using a soft phone application from Counterpath, for example, or again, that phone didn't show up in that list. And then you would click on create device, and you'd use this information to program or provision that phone or software application, right? You would also assign it to a person. Now, if instead you just want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone application, right? You have all this information here. Well, what you do is where it says use third-party application, you would click that, and it says now it says use VirtualPBX application. You give it a name, and then you assign it to a person, and then you click on create device. And when you do that, that person then gets an email saying, hey, your soft phone's been created. Here's your username and password. If they're going to be using the soft phone app on an iPhone or Android phone, they can simply go to the App Store and look up VPBX phone, download the app, and then use those credentials to log in. If you want your staff to use the desktop app for Mac OS or Windows, then you would need to go to the web store and order it because there's a license fee involved. I believe the list price is $39.99. You get the discount code, and or there might be a sale going on, so it could be cheap. But then you would get a download link and then use that username and password to log in. All right, cell phone and landline. These are basically the same, so I'm just going to cover them once. But again, you give it a name, and then you enter in the contact number, right? So +1, right? +1, number 1, area code and phone number for that cell phone or that landline. And then you assign it to a person. You click on create device. Did I click on this one here? And this is the default settings for a cell phone or landline when they get added. So when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or landline, right, the phone will ring and you pick up. You're going to hear a message saying, this is a forwarded call. Please press 1. When you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you are there, and yes, you want to take that call. Connects the call to you. Right? For our vConsole customers, this is like pressing pound on the vConsole to accept the call. Now, in some cases, that is not what you want the system to do, right? Say, for instance, you are sending calls actually to an automated answering service. Well, that automated answering service can't press 1 because it doesn't have fingers. So what you would do instead is, under these options here, you would click a check mark in front of allow use of cell phone voicemail. So what that does is you no longer have to press pound to accept the call, or press 1, sorry. Still going to the console days there. But yeah, so the phone rings, that automated system picks up. It doesn't have to press 1, the system connects the call when it hears that pickup tone. Likewise, if you do this to your actual cell phone, right, if your phone would ring, you pick up accept the call is connected. You didn't have to press 1, and then you can talk to that person. Now, in that last instance, right, it's going to your actual cell phone. If you're not able to pick up, but your cell phone voicemail picks up, that inbound caller ends up on your cell phone's voicemail. Sometimes, for some people, that's exactly what they want. Other people don't. They're like, nope, I wanted to make sure it goes to my system voicemail. All right. The other thing that comes up is this one here, the keep original caller ID. So when calls are being sent to your cell phone, right? So let's say customer Susie is giving you a call. The phone number that shows up on the caller ID of your cell phone is Susie's actual phone number. Right? You're like, I don't recognize this number. You're going to let voicemail pick up. When you uncheck the keep original caller ID, what happens instead is when customer Susie calls, the phone number that shows up on your cell phone is that default number under the caller ID on the dashboard page. So in this case, that's that 702 number. That's the phone number that shows up on your cell phone, so you know it's a work call. So you're like, oh, this is for work. Let me go ahead and answer. So let me close this. Let's go quickly back to dashboard just to emphasize. All right, so under this caller ID, this phone number that I have selected, that's the caller ID that would show up on the cell phone or landline. All right, here. Next up, we've already done soft phone, we've done web phone. Again, you get that same wireless message. You give it a name, and then you select an owner, you click on create device. So that would add a web phone to a specific user. So then they will have, under here, that web phone link show up the next time they log in, or you can just go to webphone.virtualpbx.net. Using Chrome or Firefox on a computer, you log in using your Dash login credentials, right? So same username, same password, same account name. And then you use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls from your computer. All right, let's go over to the greetings manager. So here you see all the greetings on the account. You got their name, the source, TTS is text to speech, uploaded a file, and recordings are recorded over the phone. You can download the file so you can listen to it. You can click on the little wrench so you can change the name so it's something more recognizable for you, as well as you can get rid of a greeting. You can also add or upload new greetings here. Right, just file, give it a name, find the file, click on create greeting, and then you can assign it as necessary where you need it to go. Groups is shorthand for ring groups. Again, this is for departments. You would click on add group. You give it a name, you give it an extension number, right, so people can transfer calls to it. And then you click and drag your staff members that you want to be in the group and click on create group. Once a group is created, you can click on the name. You can always change the name. And then you have the option here for dialing repeats. Right now it's set to 1. You got little arrows here to the right where I can change it. But dialing repeats is the number of times the inbound caller can ring through to your staff members, right? So in this case, I'm saying, hey, they can go through once, and hopefully one of my staff members picks up. Then you click on Save Changes. If you click on the little members box here, now you can see this is the up here, right? This is measured in seconds. This last one is a field you can change, right? So this is the total ring time that inbound caller can ring through to the group. And then you see here, okay, I'm ringing it in this order, right? So Kathy, Duke, Denard, and Hidake. Now I can just click distribute. So now it's still in that same order, but I shortened the ring time. If I want, I can change the order. Let's say I know, oh wait, Kathy's got some other responsibilities. She shouldn't be first. And now I can click distribute. So now she's at the very end. If instead, all my staff is this group works off of commission, so I want to make sure they all have an equal opportunity, then I can do something like this. Right? This is referred to as blast ringing. So everyone gets rung at the same time. Whoever gets the call, picks up first, gets the call. Right? This field you can change, right? I can make it 60, I can make it 600, etc. And then any changes you make, you just click on Save Changes. Again, here's the extension number for a group. I can add additional extensions if I want, or unassign an extension. Groups can have their own phone number, right? So this, right, you add from spare or buy a new number, right? But like say dialing the 669 number goes directly into this 2020 ring group. They don't go through the virtual receptionist or any of the auto attendants. Next up, we got group features. So ringback. If you turn this on, you basically say, hey, I'm going to upload a .wav or .mp3 file recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. This will play back until one of my staff members picks up. So hold music in a way. Next action, if you enable this, it says, hey, no one's able to answer. What do I want to do with the call? In this case, I'm sending it to Bob's voicemail box. But you can send it back to your main menu. You can send it to a specific device. You can send it to a specific user. You can send it to another ring group. And then you can send it to a voicemail box. Allow call forward. If you enable this, you allow your staff members to make use of call forwarding, i.e. they're not going to be at their normal desk phone. So have calls, they can set up forwarding to go to their cell phone, and this call comes, if you allow this on the group, that means that group call that goes to that user will go to that forwarded device. Caller ID prepend. This is again for your VoIP phone users. You can put text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on the VoIP phone display. So again, your staff members know what the call is about, especially useful for people who are in multiple groups. Now, some other things. So groups, they don't care what kind of device your staff members are using, right? We can send calls to landlines, cell phones, or VoIP phones. Right. Now you have those limited routing options versus queues. Groups, you can also have an extension number and a phone number, whereas on queues, you can only have one or the other. And then the other restriction on queues that tends to impact people is queues can only offer calls to VoIP devices, right? So SIP phone, soft phone, or web phone. Can't send calls to cell phones or landlines currently. All right, numbers. Shows your numbers on the accounts, or on the account, right? So numbers in use means I'm making use of them. Spare numbers. These are numbers I'm not currently using. If I want to get rid of a number, it has to first be a spare number. And then the little box in front, I put a check mark there, and now I've got the option to delete it. So are you sure? I click yes, or delete numbers. It says, yay, successfully deleted the number. And now it's no longer on my account. I do have the option here to buy both local and toll-free numbers, right? And that just adds them here to my spare number list. And if you give me just a minute, I feel like coughing fit coming on. So let me see if I can mute myself real quick here. All right, sorry about that. Hopefully you guys didn't get blasted in your eardrums. All right, the port process here, right, begins the port process. Say new port request, you give it a name. Right. You choose local or toll free, you click next. And then it's asking you to upload a PDF of your bill. And then it'll let you download a LOA or letter of agency, a blank one, and then give you the option to upload a completed and signed LOA. It'll give you some warning messages about the process, and then let you submit the port request to our porting team. When you do that, you will get 2 emails. The first will be an automated email saying, hey, you've successfully submitted your port request. By the next business day, you should get another email, and this will be coming from our porting team, letting you know, yes, we received your documents, and here's some things to be aware of about the port process itself. And then from that point on, you'll get email updates, whether there's a rejection or we got a completion date. Now, for the LOA, it asks you for company information and a signature. Right? The company information, that should match what your current carrier has on file for you. Right? So whatever address, say, AT&T has on file for that phone number, that's the address that should show up. The signature, it does actually need to be signed. Right? You don't want to just print the name, right? Type in the name twice. That's going to get rejected. Those are the main things that can cause delays or rejections in port requests. If for some reason you don't get that second email, or you get an error when you try to submit it initially, you can still email porting@virtualpbx.com. You can include those documents, and we can still process your port request. Some people just do that out of habit and don't bother with going through that upload process, and that's fine. Oh, a note about if you're porting a mobile number, right, cell phone number, you're going to need an account PIN number from your carrier to actually complete the port request. And just keep in mind that once that port completes, the cell phone that phone number is associated with will no longer work until you get a second number from your cell phone carrier. All right, users. All right, you can add a new user by clicking up here. Put in their first and last name. The email used for login, that needs to be unique for each user. Then you create a password for them, and then you assign an extension number for them. Now, I started this account with extension 1000, so the system is prompting me saying, hey, the next available one is 1021. But let's say, for instance, I was just adding these new auto attendants, and I want to make the staff members for the separate auto attendants have different extension numbers, right? So then I can say, hey, you're an auto attendant number 2, so I'm making you extension 2002. That's completely fine. All right, this checkbox is already automatically checked, which is the create the voicemail box for this user, and it enables that feature on the user. That voicemail box is intrinsically tied to the user. So for instance, if when I create this user, then I assign a VoIP phone to them, they can pick up the VoIP phone and hit *98 on the VoIP phone. That automatically logs them into their voicemail box. Right? The system will prompt that person to create a PIN number for their voicemail box, as well as to then create a voicemail box greeting. Right? And then going forward, that person can always hit *98 and get directly into their voicemail box. Right? Now, if I don't create a voicemail for this user and I try to create one manually later, or worse, like I create one initially and then I delete that voicemail box and then create a new one later, that manually created voicemail box, I can't make that same intrinsic tie. So that means that person can no longer hit *98 to get a voicemail. Right? Including user directory, right? Yes or no. You can always change that later. Send to alternate address. So for instance, let's say I have a generic email address I've been using for my support team, right? So support 1, support 2, those aren't legit email addresses at my domain. I'm just putting them in so they can log in. I can have an alternate address inputted here so that they can get their password requests, right? Password recovery, as well as our voicemail sent to this other address. And then probably the most important one is this last one here, send credentials to this user. So when I click on create user, they get an email saying, hey, here's your login information. And if you need to create multiple people, create user and add another. All right. Actually, all right, so little gray suit or gray person, that's just your standard user. Little blue suit icon is an admin. If you click on a person's name, you can change their name. If you click on change credentials, you can change their email address as well as their password. Now, for instance, let's say Bob, he can never remember the passwords I create for him, right? We're both getting frustrated. I can just click this link right here, and that will send the password reset to him. And then he can create his own password, hopefully one that he will remember. All right, and then you would click on Save Changes. Change PIN number. You can create PIN numbers for each of your voicemail box users. Again, for your VoIP phone users, you don't have to. They can just do that *98. But for your cell phone or landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for them ahead of time. You got the option here to send to an alternate address, as well as to be in or not in the company directory. This over here is a pull down to make a user an admin or an admin back to a user. This is your time zone for that user. This is the display language within the dashboard itself. So English, French, German, or Russian. Ringing time for a new user is defaulted to 20 seconds, which is typically plenty of time for a VoIP phone or a landline. If a person's predominantly a cell phone user, you're going to want to change this up to about 45 or 60. It simply takes longer to route a call to a cell phone, right? So in comparison, when the system is routing a call to a landline user, right, we send the call to the landline carrier. They say, oh, we know exactly where that person is, sends the call to that establishment, right? Whereas when we send a call to a cell phone carrier, they say, oh, hold on a second, let's find this person, right? Bounce the signal off the cell phone towers, finds you, then the call goes through to you, right? That delay, that time to find you is why you might want to up it to 45 seconds, because sometimes what can happen is, at 20 seconds even, is like the cell phone user, they'll hear their phone ring or feel it vibrate, right? They'll go to pick up the phone, and then the call's gone. Sometimes they don't even get that. Sometimes they just get a missed call notification if they happen to be at in a heavy call volume area. All right, then you can add it. You can choose whatever their main extension is, and then caller ID privacy is at the default. Extensions, you can have users with multiple extensions if you so want. And the best use case I have is for the head of our sales department. Whenever we happen to lose a staff member, for whatever reasons, he takes over their extensions, so that way he doesn't miss any return calls from potential prospects, so we don't lose any of that potential business. Users can have their own phone numbers. Again, this number bypasses your auto attendant / virtual receptionist, goes directly to this person, right? So especially good for your salespeople, right? So they don't lose out on potential sales. The devices box, you can add new devices here, right? You have the same options as before. I find it a little easier to add the VirtualPBX soft phone and web phone to use on the user page versus on the device page, but there's basically no difference. And then the user features. So caller ID number, this only is available for users that have their own phone number, but when you click this on, what happens is when this user makes an outbound call from their VoIP phone, this is the caller ID that shows up versus your default main dashboard company number. Call forwarding, off, on, or failover mode. Now, this feature is a feature your users can set up themselves. You don't have to do it for them. As an admin, they can access this via the user portal And for your VoIP phone users, they can use feature codes to set up and update their call forwarding. But basically what you do is like, hey, send calls to a particular device, put +1 area code and number, and then you have these options of leaving voicemails for direct calls only, and as well as keep original caller ID, and click on Save Changes. Now, failover mode is for your VoIP phone users, because when the system detects their VoIP phone going offline for whatever reasons, and a call happens to come to the user, the system will automatically forward their call to their forwarding device. And then off means they're not using it at all. Now, whatever forwarding device they have should not be a device already on the user, right? This is the backup device. It's not something you use every day. Hot desking. This is another VoIP phone feature, and this comes up in instances where you're in a shared office environment, but mostly an office environment where people may be switching desks from day to day or from time to time that they're in, right? So you have, say you have like a marketing person who comes in twice a week. Well, you don't have an assigned desk for that person. They just go to the open desk that they can find, right? Well, but they still want to take their calls on those days they're in the office. So they say they're sitting at desk number 7. They pick up their VoIP phone. They hit *11 at that desk. That turns on hot desking. The system will ask for the hot desk ID number and then PIN number if that's enabled. And then the system will tell them the call will be forwarded to this device. So as they go through their workday, if anyone's trying to call them, it will ring at desk number 7. The end of their day, they hit *12 on that phone to turn off hot desking. Next time they come in, well, someone's already sitting at desk number 7, so I go, okay, whatever. I'm going to sit here at desk number 12. And they do the same thing, hit *11 on the phone, enter hot desk ID and PIN number if applicable, and then calls will be coming to that phone that they're sitting in. Obviously, if you make any changes, click on Save Changes. Voicemail box, again, because I created it with the user, that's why that's green. Fax box. If you enable this, then you're saying this person has their own fax box. You can select a spare number, buy a new number, or you can assign an extension. Now, for most people, I recommend just making use of a phone number, because that's easier for faxing. Right? People can just enter in the fax number, hit send fax. And then go get to your fax box. But basically, you can choose an extension number, hit select extension. So then someone needs to call the main number. And at the greeting, they enter in the fax extension that they're going to, and then they click send fax. So that might be difficult for some people to get used to. All right, conference bridge. Because I assigned the main conference number, I can enable conferencing on a user. Gives me the phone number. It defaults the conference room number to match their extension number. And then I enter in a PIN number for the conference room. And then I click on Save Changes. Now, your staff members can adjust their PIN numbers via the user portal. All right, follow me. This is for your staff member with multiple devices. And in fact, what happens when you first enable it, it looks like this. Everything's on Do Not Ring. Basically, the system's waiting for you to tell it, okay, what devices do you want it to go to? And up here, for how long? It defaults to 120 seconds, excuse me. So for each device that you want it to ring, you click unclick the Do Not Ring button. And so now you've got sliders. You can adjust it as necessary, or I can just click Distribute. Right, and I can, as admin, I can change this later because, hey, sometimes he wants calls on his cell phone. Oh, wait, but he wants that third, and then I can click Distribute again. Right, so sort of like in groups. music on hold. Your staff members can have individualized hold music if you enable this. Then you would upload a file. You find a file .wav.mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. You click upload, and then you would click on save changes. All right, customized call recording. So when you enable it, it looks like this, right? Everything is set to off because you need to decide which kind of calls you want to record for your staff members. You have to do this for each one. So inbound internal, right? So coworker Bob is calling this person, right? Inbound external, right? Customers calling the is a inbound customer call. Outbound internal means I'm calling coworker Bob, and then outbound external means I'm calling a customer back. And then do not disturb means send callers to voicemail. All right, voicemail boxes. Now, the reason to create a voicemail box would be for like your ring groups or your queues, where you just want a voicemail box not tied to a specific staff member. And you would click on Add Voicemail Box. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. You would click on Create Voicemail Box. Once you do that, you click on the little wrench icon. You go to Advanced. So under greeting media, right, you would select a media file already on the account. You can upload one as well, .wav.mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. So every voicemail box has a media file and a temporary file, right? So the media file is the default file that will play. If you have a temporary file selected, this will supersede the media file until you put this back to none, right? So like the out of office voicemail message for Bob because he's on vacation. Especially for a manually created voicemail box, you'd also want to make sure you add an email address for recipients, so that way someone is notified when a voicemail box is left here, or voicemail is left in this voicemail box, excuse me. So once you've added a media file and a recipient, then under options, you can put a check mark here for already set up. And then you've got these other options down here. So by default, the system deletes voicemails after notification. Right, so voicemail box on Dash are restricted to 100 messages. And once you get to that, someone tries to leave a message, they get the voicemail box is full, please try again later. Now, since the system is automatically emailing the staff member or the notification people saying, hey, you have a voicemail, but that email also includes an attachment that they can just double click and listen to. That's why delete after notification is a default option. Now, if you want to force staff members, or you have a staff member just that they like calling in, or they like using the portal, right, then you can uncheck both of these. Right, so now they'll get an email saying, hey, you have a voicemail, but there's no attachment, and you didn't delete it. So now when they go in, either over the website or they call in over the phone, they can then retrieve their messages, delete them, etc. And then this one's new. Transcribe messages, right? So the system listens to the message and then puts the message in text format in that email. And then any changes, click on Save Changes. Advanced routing. This is primarily for our migration customers. Once it loads. So direct inward system access. For our vConsole customers, you have the ability on vConsole to call into your system and log in over the phone. And then one of those options after logging in, beyond listening to a voicemail, was to make an outbound call. And that's what direct inward system access is for. So first you would enable it, and then you would click on Edit Settings. You can set up a PIN number, pardon me, and you can assign an extension number. And click on Save Changes. So now your staff members from a cell phone or landline, they can call into your main numbers. When they hear that greeting, they can enter in this extension number. They'll be prompted to enter in this PIN number. Then they'll hear dial tone again, so that then they can press 1 area code and phone number and make an outbound call. When they make that outbound call, the caller ID that shows up on the person receiving that call is not their cell phone, but rather your default number off of the dashboard, the caller ID number. Now, for new customers, you can request to have this enabled. The reason it's not enabled by default is that this is a potential for fraud, right? If someone can figure out the PIN numbers, they can make outbound calls off of your system, and you may not realize it right away. Call logs shows the call history on the account. Right, in this case, I went back a month. So the little green arrow to the right, that's an inbound call. Right, I can see the caller ID. I can see the number they went to. I can see how much time they spent. On a normal account, you would actually see that the calls were offered to a user and what devices the call was offered to. The little fire hydrant icon here, this creates an email with the technical details of the call. Right, that email is addressed to support@virtualpbx.com. In the body of the email, you want to enter in what you experienced or didn't experience. Right, you can say, hey, this said the system offered me a call, my phone never rang. Right, so that way we at least know what happened on your end. Right, it gives us helps out our support team to figure out what is going on. Feature codes, I've talked about a couple of these, but these are basically dial pad shortcuts your staff members can use from VoIP phones to access features on the system. These are also published on our website under the support pages, so you don't have to log in to see them all. One that's actually fairly new is this one here, the direct extension pickup. So say you're in the office and your coworker Doug says, hey, I need to run out for a bit. Can you just watch over my phone in case, our big client calls in, right? So Doug goes off and, not even 2 minutes later, his phone starts ringing. From your VoIP phone, you hit *87 and then Doug's extension number, and you pick up his call. Right, so we've been on the dashboard this whole time. Next up, we've got ACD queues. ACD stands for Automatic Call Distribution. This is a call center feature. ACD queues, these are the standard ones, range from $15 to $30 per month per queue, depending on your plan. There's also ACD queues Pro, which start at $99 per month per queue. So the main caveat about the queues is that we can only offer calls to VoIP phones, right? So SIP phone, soft phone, web phone. Currently, we can't offer calls to cell phones or landlines. That's something the engineers are working on. You create a new queue by clicking on Add Queue, but I'm going to go ahead and click on the gear icon out of the existing queue. So you give it a queue name, and then a queue can have either an extension number or a phone number, right? And you can select from spare, buy a new number, etc. Queue configuration, you've got different routing strategies. So this one is set to, unfortunately, the pull down is not working, but this one is set to most idle. So meaning whoever of my staff members has been waiting the longest for a call, they get the next call that comes in. Right. They also have round robin, which basically equals out over time. You've got ring all, basically everyone's phone rings until someone picks up. You have most or least offered, right? So say you have a couple staff members logged in, we'll say Bob and Mary. Bob's been offered 20 calls, Mary's been offered 5 calls. The next call that comes in goes to Mary because she's had the least amount of offered calls. Similarly, there is least calls. This is the least amount of connected calls. So in that scenario, 20 for Bob, 5 for Mary, we'll say Bob's call answered 2 of those calls, right? So he's spoken to 2 people. Mary has spoken to all 5 of hers. The next call that comes in gets offered to Bob because he's had the least amount of connected calls. All right, hold treatment, you get to upload a music file, right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono. On ACDQs Pro, your hold treatment is much more robust. You can upload music files, but you can also announce the person's position in line, or you can announce their wait time. You can upload different music files, right? So you can change it up, or you can say, hey, here's our special offer versus music playing. Okay, here's your position in line. All right, here is a repeat of our special offers. Or I can say, here's our hours of operation. Go back, put in a music file that just plays, etc. That's under ACDQs Pro. Queue timeout. This is how much inbound caller can wait on hold, measured in seconds. Queue call limit. You can limit the number of calls that can be in the queue, 0 being no limit. Timeout immediately if empty. So if you have no staff members logged in and a call comes into the queue, the system will treat it as if that caller hit the timeout. Escalation. All your staff members are busy. Calls will be sent to this other queue, so that additional staff members can pick up the call, for example. And then the escalation call flow after timeout. So after that 3,600 seconds, the caller gets sent to this voicemail box. Now, in the case where calls get sent to the escalation queue, that timer is still present because they started in this queue, right? And then after that timer expires, they'd be sent back to this escalation time flow, not the escalation queue's timeout. Oh, one other thing about ACDQs Pro hold treatment, you can set up like pressing 0 so they can get out of the queue and say leave a message. That's not available on the standard queues. Agent behavior, agent recovery time. Basically, after an agent has ended a call with inbound caller, this timer you can have a timer engaged before they're offered a second call from the queue, right? So they have time to catch their breath, get a drink of water, update CRM information, etc. This is typically 15 to 30 seconds, not 300. All right. Force away on rejected or missed. If this is enabled, then if a staff member misses a call, the system puts them in away mode, and that staff member has to mark themselves as ready again before they're offered another call. And then agent connect timeout is 20 seconds, basically how much time the system offers a call to a staff member. And it's because they can only be using VoIP phones, 20 seconds is typically plenty. Over here is your members icon. And then you want to click on Manage Members. So the list on our left, these are staff members who are not able to go into the queues, right? They're not assigned to any queue. They're not available as part of your call member group. The list on my right, these are all the people that I have assigned to queues or are available to be assigned to a queue, right? If you want to add someone, you would just click on them and then click on Add as a Member. And if you want to remove someone, you click on them and remove them as a member. If we go back to the queue, if you click on a queue here, right, I can add agents. And so now this list is among the available people, right, that I can assign, not everybody, just the available people. And I can click and drag people over, as well as move them back if I don't want them in this queue. And then as far as managers go, they have to first be an agent on the queue, and then I can move them over to become a manager. For your staff members, right, they would still click on queues, but they would click on begin session. And so now they've logged in, right? You see that here. I'm logged into this queue, but I'm not ready to take a call. I'm marked away. I would go back up here. If I mark myself all as ready, I'll turn to green. So now I'm ready to accept a call that comes into this queue. This little phone icon, your staff members can select which VoIP device they want to be taking the calls on. Right, they can mark themselves away like they're going to lunch. And then at the end of the day, they would click on end session. All right, blacklists. This allows you to create lists to block numbers from reaching your system. You click on edit lists, or edit settings, excuse me. If you don't have a blacklist created, you click add. And then once you do, you give the list a name. Block anonymous means if we don't get a valid caller ID, we will block the call from connecting to the system. Otherwise, you would click on add number, you put +1 area code and phone number, and then you would click on save. You go back to settings, and then you make sure to click and drag the list over into your selected side here, and then click update. So now any phone numbers that's on either of these two lists, whenever those numbers try to call into our system, they get busy tone. All right, faxes. As an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account. So you can see their inbound or outbound faxes. The email to fax logs will show you failed outbound fax attempts, right? Little thumbs down. You click on the little eyeball here, and you'll get some additional information, but basically saying, hey, this email address is not on the account, so that's why the fax failed. Right? Usually you get like something about a bad attachment is the most common thing. Monitor is typically not enabled on most accounts, but basically you can see the status of your staff members. You can see who's available, who's busy, etc. Number manager takes you to your spare numbers. Recording manager, this goes to your call recordings. This is just at recordings.virtualpbx.com. You use your dash login, and you can view your recordings as well as play them back and download them. Unlike vConsole, right? If you had call recording enabled, it only kept the recordings for 14 days and then automatically removed them. On Dash, the system does not do that. You can keep your recordings for as long as you want. There is a storage limit, right? So I believe it's defaults at either 1 or 2 gigabytes, depending on plan. And then after that, you pay for the next gigabyte of storage, which I don't know the pricing is on that. Obviously, since you can go in, you can always download and then delete them, so that way you don't go over that storage limit. Reports, this is advanced reporting. This is currently in beta. If you're interested in this, you want to contact our account services team, and they can see about getting you set up or let you know if there is a price involved. The user portal, every staff member has their own user portal. So in this case, on this voicemail box, I unchecked delete after notification. Right, so I said, oh, I have a new voicemail. It came in on this date at this time. This was who it came from. This is the number they dialed. The duration, I can play it back, or I can download the file. Right, if I click on this little check mark, I can say keep it as new, mark as listened, or mark for deletion. Right, if I have many if I have a lot, I can sort by that criteria. Call history, I can see completed calls in and out of the system. Faxes, I can see my fax history. The contact list, this is your Dash contact list, meaning all the users, the groups, the attendance, the queues, etc. Now, I can't, as a user, I can't edit this list, right? I can't, like if I was a salesperson, I couldn't put my client contact information here. This is only within your Dash account. The conference tab, right over here, right? You see your conference number. You can adjust your moderator pin as well as your participant pin. And then you have these options to have people come in as mute or deaf, as well as entry and exit tones. You can invite other Dash users to your conference. You can lock a conference. You can mute a conference, unmute everybody, hang up, or end the conference. Likewise, when you're in a conference, you can mute a specific person as well as kick a specific person. Over here on settings and devices, this is where your staff members can enable their call forwarding themselves, right on top of the feature codes. And they have these options here to either also ring their VoIP device, keep the caller ID, etc. And they can see the status of their devices. As admins, you can also get to any voicemail box on the account. All right, so for instance, here I can see that same message with that same criteria. I've got the option to download as well. And then lastly, webhooks. This allows you to use APIs to link Dash to other software. If you are interested in this, you'd want to talk to our sales team. They have some additional information available about this, as well as pricing. You can also see samples of what our team has done making use of APIs and webhooks at developer.virtualpbx.com. And that is everything. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard here, and I'll wait around for a minute or so to see if anyone has any questions via chat, and we'll go from there. All right, not seeing any questions pop through, so I'm going to go ahead and